Welcome back everyone to another Bitcoin update, and market has officially closed today for Bitcoin, or sorry, not for Bitcoin, but for the S&P 500. We saw new all-time highs and a little bit of a dump afterwards, but then kind of a short rally towards the end of the market closing. So far we have still just been within this consolidation for Bitcoin over the past couple of days, and not too much has happened. So I just kind of want to go over pretty much everything for our scenarios, and we're kind of go into the technical analysis and some of our indicators and what exactly is flashing that could be happening over the next couple of days and weeks, and possibly a couple hours as well. So we're going to keep it really straight. This white scenario is right now our main scenario that we have that could possibly be leading. Obviously, at any point it can break. If you haven't seen some of our other videos of our other scenarios, make sure to check those out, where we kind of go and talk about more of those. But basically, we have a few different scenarios. Obviously, anything can happen, but we're just going to kind of give some possible roadmaps that are leading probability-wise. So our main one right here is this white scenario in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move up in a larger degree A, B, C, in which we could find a rejection and head lower below this range, below the swing low here at 60,000. There's a couple different ways that this white scenario can lead. We could possibly have been in a first in a 1 right here, and then maybe this was a smaller 2, or maybe this was our 1, this was our 2, now we're in our 3, 4, 5. That could be one way it could lead out. Otherwise, we could get a more extended wave 2, and then a 3, 4, and a 5. And that would be our two ways in which we could see that play out as well. Or maybe we do a 1, retest the trend line here at 67,000 to form a higher low, and then we go higher as well. So it's a few different ways that white scenario can play out. It's just kind of a roadmap for what could happen. If we do directly go higher here, then obviously momentum isn't really cooling off. So when momentum doesn't really cool off, and we just kind of have a blow off rally like that, we can possibly see maybe not as high as price action if we see a more healthy wave 2, or a more healthy corrections for our side to cool off and for everything to reset. It would probably be best overall for price wise if we get more cool offs before going higher, because if we just had a very shallow wave 2 and then now we're in our 3rd wave, 4th wave, 5th wave, I mean, we may, what if we barely reach this 81,000 for our 100% extension on our C wave, and then we just get rejected? Instead, if we get a healthy wave 2, we can reset everything. Then we can have a nice impulsive 3rd wave, 4th wave, and 5th wave, and maybe test this range here that we had back here in December and November. Now that's just our that would be the ideal situation. Obviously, if we cool off, then we can have better rallies afterwards. Obviously, it's not guaranteed. We could have a catalyst event come, and we could very well skyrocket up, and then we'll kind of have to wait and see how we do within this zone. So, but obviously, nothing's ever guaranteed. So that is how our white scenario would be. There's a few different ways for this B wave too. Overall, we're tracking a larger B wave bounce. So whether or not we get rejected from here and go lower, that is another scenario. Is at any point really this B wave could top that we're tracking. So maybe it topped over here and we're going lower, or maybe we're going to go a little bit higher short term before getting rejected and going lower. There's a few different ways that could play out as well. And in our other scenarios that we have, extended B wave, so instead of a bottom being over here, we just go back down to retest a larger support within this area before trying again in another rally back up for our C wave before heading lower. And that would be our more bearish scenario. And then there's obviously another scenario where all of this is just a corrective 4th wave. We get one more low, and then we get a B wave rally up before heading lower as well. So those are a few different scenarios that we're kind of tracking. Didn't want to put them all up on the graph just because it'd be super complicated. I think it's very, very nice, or I guess best, to hear the the predictions and the, not predictions, but the roadmap of each scenario and how that could play out, as I think that's very informative. And it's sometimes not the best to just click on a video, look at what numbers you see on the screen, and then just click off right away. It's best to kind of hear everything out and truly get the roadmap of everything. So when the time comes and something changes, well, it shouldn't be surprising if you kind of listen to everything. So we're going to head over to the RSI for Bitcoin. Daily RSI, we have that trend line coming in around that 65 to 70 range. Not quite there, but we are getting ever so close every single day. And on the 1 hour chart, we do have a very slight divergence that has been playing out here. So we had a high here, higher high, and a higher high, and a lower high on the RSI. So maybe we see a wave 2 pullback, or that is a sign of weakening momentum. Obviously, you can see volume within this range has increased a little bit over here, so that's just something important to look at as well. On the 30-minute chart, still within neutral, not crazy divergences or anything that we have seen. And on the 4 hour, we were still, other than this bearish divergence and seeing that correction off, we haven't really seen too much happen afterwards. We're still pretty close to the overbought territory, but not quite there. Now, I do have some other interesting indicators that I did want to show out, and we have seen, now it's barely positive. I mean, you could still say this is overall a neutral territory for funding rate, but we have now seen positive funding rate. Now, usually when we see a switch in funding rate from negative to positive, you can see here when we're super bearish, you can see we're pushing up in price. We're getting corrections, but we're still pushing up in price. Market's super short, market's very bearish. They're expecting lower prices, maybe a dump to somewhere in this area, and it just never comes. And now you can see here we're super bearish here, and now we are pushing up in price. So that's just kind of the indicator, or one of the indicators. It's not always a 100% right thing. Just because we barely hit positive for this funding rate, I still expect, because overall when the funding rate does hit positive, you do, for example back here, you do see some rallies afterwards as well. Typically, or not typically, but it's possible. So just because we hit green, that doesn't mean that we can't go higher before getting rejected as well, or turning red in funding rate. That's just something to kind of look out for, as a just better to be in green than it is to be red, obviously. So maybe we rally a little bit, maybe we test some liquidity within this area up here, and then we can possibly form a healthy wave 2 if we even get it. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but we'll kind of just have to wait and see. We'll keep an eye on this indicator and see if we continually start to get green, or will the market start to turn bearish again, and the funding rate will turn negative and price will just push up more. So we'll kind of wait and see how that goes as well. On the open interest, we've seen falling open interest, but it's still holding somewhat well, but obviously lower lows and lower highs here on the open interest after this rally as well. It's nothing too crazy about that. If we go over the liquidity, which is probably going to be a good sign to look out for, 30-day, we still have this liquidity up here at 77,000. However, be aware we are building liquidity below at 73 to about 74,000, and then you have this larger range back here at 70,000 to 71,000, or sorry, 69 to about 71,000. On the 90-day, you could see we do have a large zone here built up at that 77,000 range, and then obviously smaller clusters here that build up into the 80s, and then same for this, that 74,000, and then that 69 to 71,000, and then this large zone back here at 65,000. So if we go over the heat map, see what the different time frames would be. So on the 24-hour, we go to the 75, we could see a possible push higher short term to liquidate some of these. And on the 48-hour, same thing, that 76,000 region for liquidity. On the 3-day, this is very nice to see. or I guess just a possible telling time. And yeah, that same zone at 75, 76,000, you can see liquidity being built up at that 77, 78,000 range, which we showed on the 90-day heat map. But obviously be aware that liquidity is building below as well. And on the weekly, we'll be able to look at this as well. And we're kind of between two zones, basically. We have our upper liquidity here that goes to about 78,000, and then our lower liquidity that goes to about 70,000, and then obviously the smaller clusters in between. So if we kind of go out of this and just kind of talk about what we could possibly see over the next 24 hours is liquidity is obviously we're closer to the upside liquidity than what we are to the downside liquidity, and the RSI is mostly reset. There are a few divergences on the 1 hour. Like if we see here in the 1 hour, we see a very slight bearish divergence, but what we can possibly expect is obviously two different things that could play out. One or three different things. We can continue to just go sideways, or we can go a little bit higher, take out the liquidity up here before forming a healthy wave 2, or we can just directly go up, liquidate the liquidity up in this region, and then possibly getting a 4 and a 5 up before heading lower, or we can just see a direct sell-off in a wave 2. So those are two different things. What is more likely to happen? Well, you never know with catalysts. I mean, a catalyst could come tonight and bearish news comes out and it just crashes the price. Obviously, no one can really predict what a catalyst would do or what sort of catalyst will come. But in the near short term, we could possibly see a push up to that liquidity towards the upside. And then we'll kind of have to wait and see what this 76,000 region of that resistance will actually do for the price. Are we going to see a sharp rejection like we typically do, like we saw there and we saw back here as well? Or will we see a sustained push through before heading higher as well? So we'll kind of have to wait and see how that happens. It would be, it would make sense too for a correction if this was, if this was an A wave down and then now we're just getting a extended B wave up. B waves can extend, so even if we do go higher than our previous price point, that wouldn't be, if it's a B wave, it can typically do that before getting a second wave correction down. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for this video. Not too much has happened. Still kind of going sideways, but few positive indicators that could, if we see a change in that, that would be a good sign to see maybe in the next couple of days or weeks that could possibly give a sign of a possible sell-off that could be happening in a overheated market. So yeah, thanks for watching. We will see you next time.